Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another beautiful day. A November day. We're finally in November. Finally, it's like January 1st was yesterday. We're in November, which means that it is time for another random episode of the Just My Opinion show here on YouTube with your host, Andrew Raymond Smith. The JMO show, the JMO show. We're going to get started real soon. And I I really regret telling myself right before this that we're going to be doing this in one take. But either way, let's get started. Let's hit that music, shall we? Isn't that music just the best? I'm so glad that I accidentally came across that music. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, going to be doing this in one take as usual because I am still getting over the cold that I've had or flu, whatever it is, for over a week now. 4 episodes now, 2 JMO shows, 2 NHL weeklies that I've done with my cold. We're finally starting to get on the back end of it, finally getting back to work again. And as usual, we are back to our completely randomized schedule for the JMO show here on the E&C Hockey channel. As a lot of you will have seen, NHL Weekly is also on a randomized basis now. Hopefully this coming Saturday, in a couple days, we will have that out before 2 o'clock on that Saturday. One thing that I will say is that as soon as the 4th hits, Friday, so maybe expect on maybe Sunday or Monday, there will be a JMO show episode coming out where we talk about the previous years, the defending Stanley Cup champion, that's how I'll put it, the defending Stanley Cup champion for that year, their first 10 games, and how the rest of their season for that year went. Obviously, with the Colorado Avalanche, just like some of these other JMO episodes that I've done, there's all sorts of potential for a part 2, as well as this one here. Each NHL team's captain, we're going to look at some stats, we're going to do some analysis on those stats, and then we're going to have a discussion on what I believe today's topic is going to potentially be. We're going to take a look at not who's the best captain so far, because some players who may have played 1,000 games now are only a season or two into a captaincy. You can't really take stats in complete stats only discussion when you're talking about a team leader like the captain of a team. So today I'm thinking our discussion is going to be based for later on is going to be basically talking about who we think, you know what? How about we do this? How about we decide what this discussion is going to be when we get there? Because Andrew really doesn't know what the discussion part is going to be about today. He just thought this was an interesting topic to look at, especially because Connor McDavid, 3 games away from 500, really exciting for him. Dylan Larkin only 13 games past 500 with 513 games. But then, like I said, and as I get farther into this episode is probably going to be the most disastrous out of any so far, just because my head is just scrambled eggs, like I said a couple days ago. So bear with me. I'm trying to put a video out for you guys so that I don't feel like I'm slacking too much on you. But we will get through this, I promise. First of all, let's go through who the captain is, how many years they've been the captain of that team. Anaheim Ducks vacant for just this one season. Arizona Coyotes vacant for 2 seasons. Calgary Flames vacant for 2 seasons. Flyers for 2 seasons. Seattle for 2 seasons. And the Winnipeg Jets vacant for only 1 season. All right, Boston Bruins. Patrice Bergeron has been captain for 3 years. Buffalo Sabres. Kyle Okposo, 1 year. Carolina Hurricanes. Jordan Staal for 4 years. The Blackhawks, Jonathan Toews, 15 years. That is the second longest on this list. Colorado Avalanche, Gabriel Landeskog, 11 years. Columbus Blue Jackets, Boone Jenner for 2 years. Dallas Stars, Jamie Benn for 10 years. Detroit Red Wings, Dylan Larkin for 3 years. Oilers, Connor McDavid, that is not 7 years. That is incorrect. Florida Panthers, Alexander Barkov for 5 years. LA Kings, Anze Kopitar for 7. Minnesota Wild, Jared Spurgeon, 3. Montreal Canadiens, Nick Suzuki for 1. Nashville Predators, Roman Josi, 6 years as captain. New Jersey Devils, Nico Hischier for 3. Islanders, Andersley for 5 years now. That seems like a lot. How many years has John Tavares been? John Tavares has only been captain of the Maple Leafs for 4. That might be incorrect. Some of these numbers might be wrong. Sorry, guys. Rangers, Jacob Trouba, 1 year. Senators, Brady Tkachuk for 2 years. Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby, 16 years. That is the current active record for most seasons as captain. We do have at least one other player in the history of the NHL that has been a captain longer than Sidney Crosby. Just so happened to be a Detroit Red Wings captain. San Jose Sharks, Logan Couture, 4 years as captain. St. Louis Blues, Ryan O'Reilly for 3. Tampa Bay Lightning, Steven Stamkos for 10. Toronto Maple Leafs, John Tavares for 4. Vancouver Canucks, Bo Horvat for 4. Vegas Golden Knights, Mark Stone for 3. And then we have the Washington Capitals, Alex Ovechkin for 14. That's going to be good enough for third on the active years as captain list. So, can you see now why it's difficult to decide who is the best captain when you've got somebody who's been a captain for 16 years and a couple who have been there only for 1? First, we're going to take a look at, and I can actually put this up on screen today. Let me... Oh, that's not it. Nope. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I think I might have accidentally deleted that. So, yeah, so here we are. Hopefully that's not too blurry or anything, but we're going to take a look at the first year as captain for all of these players. If we're looking at points percentage, Connor McDavid, Alexander Barkov, and Nick Suzuki still going on with his. Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, Mark Stone, and Alex Ovechkin all with at least 1+ goal points per game. Now, if we take a look at these colors, gray is vacant, red is 2021, so you have to keep in mind that some of these, they're not playing as many games that season, as well as blue are ongoing records. So we're not going to spend too much time on the ongoing ones, but we can spend some time on the ones in white and red, obviously. So, taking a look at these, we have, let's see here. 07-08 Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby is the longest tenured, obviously. The following year, Jonathan Toews became captain in 08-09, and then 09-10, Alex Ovechkin became a captain. A couple years later after that, we have Jamie Benn and Steven Stamkos becoming captains in 13-14. Gabriel Landeskog actually in 12-13. Only a couple. We only have 3 defensive captains. Jared Spurgeon Roman Josi and Jacob Trouba as the 3 defensive captains in the league currently. If we take a look at games played in their first year, playing the full 82 games, we have Jonathan Toews, Connor McDavid, Alexander Barkov, and Anders Lee. And that is it for the players that played the most. Playing the least actually was Landeskog in 12-13 for the Avalanche. Not quite sure why he only played 36. But goals in their first year. Goals in their first year, we have 35 for Barkov. With the Panthers. And then if you take a look at the bottom, 50 goals in his first year as captain, Alexander Ovechkin. That's far and away the best. Toews and Ben with 34, and then Connor McDavid and Brady Tkachuk with 30. Now, keep in mind some of these numbers are going to be a little different, considering some of these players were well into their career at the point that they became captains, so they're a little more fleshed out when it comes to how to score, where to score, when to score. When we take a look at assists, bigger numbers for some of them. Connor McDavid, 70 assists in his first year. That is the best out of first-year captaincy. 61 for Barkov, 59 for Ovechkin, and then we've got 48 for Crosby, and there was another one, 45 for Jamie Benn. So we put those together. Points total, we've got 69 for Toews, nice. 100 for Connor McDavid, 96 for Barkov, 72 for Sidney Crosby, and 109 for Alexander Ovechkin. Ovechkin beating out everybody else in points, and I believe if we take a look at the points per game, yep, he is 1.54, which is the best for first-year numbers. Now, if we come up here, this is all-time stats with the rankings being among active players. Hopefully you guys are able to see those numbers there. We take a look at those numbers. We have quite a few players in the top 10, top 5, number 1 all-time in some rankings. If we take a look at games played, I did not get a chance to highlight these numbers. I don't know why. Games played, Ovechkin is number 1 at 1285. And then 1226, Patrice Bergeron. 1222 for Anze Kopitar, 1118 Sidney Crosby, 1101 for Jordan Staal, and Jonathan Toews 1024. Those are the players that are above 1,000 games played so far. If we take a quick look, 918 for Okposo, 958 for Jamie Benn, 946 for Riley, 932 for Stamkos, 959 for Tavares. So in the next, this year, in this current season, some of these players are going to be making it to 1,000 games. Some of them are going to have to wait until next season, but nothing wrong with that. Goals for we've got, let's see, 785 for Ovechkin, 522 for Crosby. We also have 404 for Bergeron and 488 for Stamkos. And then if we take a look at some of the younger players, 200 like Nick Suzuki, 219 goals played, 54 goals, 497 games played for Connor McDavid, 250 goals. We'll take a look at him in a second because, as you can see, next to his 250, 469 assists, which definitely is bumping him up in for some records. He literally in the first game of the season got to 701, and he's already at 719. Right above him, Dylan Larkin, couple more games than him, 152 and 217 for 369 points. If we take a look at the rankings for goals specifically, we've got Ovechkin, Crosby, Stamkos in the 1, 2, and 3 spots of active players. And then we've got a couple more with high up their numbers, getting closer. Some of them actually I had to readjust the stats because I did these stats about a week ago, and then I had to redo them for today's numbers. And some of these guys actually bumped down in the list. But if we take a look at assists, 588, 634, 899. Anybody have guesses on who those guys are? 899 assists for Sidney Crosby, 1 assist away from 900. He is clearly number 1 on the list. Number 3 on the list, 710 assists, is Anze Kopitar with the LA Kings. Then we have number 5, Alex Ovechkin, 634. Number 8, 588 assists for Patrice Bergeron. Those are far and away the best in assists of the people on this list. I think the next best, if we take a quick scan, is John Tavares, 510 assists in 17th. You take those goals and you take those assists, you add them together for your points. We've got 1,421 points total. Sidney Crosby, number 1, 14-19, only 2 points away is Alex Ovechkin in second. And then 1,077 points for Anze Kopitar, in fifth. In 7th and 8th. 992 and 983 are Bergeron and Stamkos, and that does it for the top 10, I believe. And then we've got some people close behind in 15th, 12th, and if we take a look at McDavid already in his young career at 24th, most likely will be continuing to go up the list as we go on. If we take a look at points per game, we have McDavid at the top of that with 1.447 points per game, almost a point and a half per game for him. Arguably even more impressive is the fact that we have long tenured players such as Crosby, Ovechkin, Stamkos, and a couple others right below a point per game, but those 3 above a point per game. Long-standing captains who are still above 1 point per game, which I would argue is more impressive, but depending on what metrics you're considering, depends on how you feel about that. So there's the stats, the analysis, of course, being that if we're looking at the long-tenured captains, shush phone, if you're looking at long-tenured captains, you're not going to get any better than Crosby and Ovechkin. They're at first and second overall in points, and third and fourth in points per game. Obviously, you've got really, really good, consistent points or goals, assists, and then together points records for players like Bergeron, like Kopitar, and then as well as Crosby, Stamkos, and Ovechkin. Obviously, those guys have been around a little longer than some of the other guys, so I would say the long-tenured, for the discussion portion of today, I would say that there's definitely, you're not going to be able to compare somebody who's been a captain for a year and somebody who's been a captain for 16 years. But when you're looking at their stats on their own, stats alone is what we're talking about here, because it's really difficult to quantify being a leader, period, and all of these people have to be leaders, despite some of them still being in their early 20s and some of them definitely not being in their early 20s. But I will say, again, long tenured wise, Crosby and Ovechkin probably tied for me when it comes to the stats. On the younger side of it, anybody that's under 500 games or right around 500 games, you're not going to get any better than Connor McDavid. I feel like I've crushed on him a little too much on this channel, especially because I am not an Oilers fan. But there's no arguing that he is most definitely the best player below 500 games currently. Between five and maybe 600 or 700 games played, there's definitely an argument for where'd he go? There is an argument for like somebody like Anders Lee, who has been around. If we were to have a discussion on being a captain alone without the stats, Anders Lee, keep calling him Andres instead of Anders. Anders, the E is before the R. Anders Lee is definitely up there when it comes to that. But today I just wanted to show you guys some fun stats on the current captains of the league. You will not see a happy 500th game episode for Connor McDavid, because I've already done quite a few talking points on him so far. Maybe we'll do something for any of the players at the end of the year. We'll do an episode on anybody that reached 1,000 games and looking at their careers so far. But looking down the pike, we've got the first 10 games of each team. Unfortunately, that episode can't come out until November 8th because of the St. Louis Blues not playing their 10th game until the 7th. A bunch of teams have already played. If today's the 2nd, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 teams that have already played their 10th game of the season so far. We're not talking about any of them until we finally get St. Louis caught up. And then sometime after the 4th, the Colorado Avalanche will be getting a video. Well, not just the Colorado Avalanche specifically, but each defending Stanley Cup championship team, how they did the year after the first 10 games of the season after, and how that affected the rest of their year, the standings and all that kind of stuff. And we can obviously do a part 2 to that video at the end of the year. Like I keep saying, there are some of these videos that we could be potentially getting a part 2 at the end of the year, but that's just what we've got coming down in the next couple weeks. We also have obviously NHL Weekly every week, and a pretty decent back catalog now. So for now, I'm going to throw this thing back up there, and just because I love it so darn much, we're going to play the song on our way out. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you again soon.